Okay, cool. In the Coco main event of the evening, man, oh man, possibly the best fight on this whole card in terms of a competitive standpoint. I've heard a lot of people say possible early fight of the year candidate. Khamzat Chimaev defeats Gilbert Dorino Burns by unanimous decision. An amazing, amazing welterweight bout. One of the best that we've ever seen, probably, in a crazy back and forth fight. Gilbert Burns did what we all wanted to happen.
Yes.
Is not necessarily beat Chimaev, but he showed that Chimaev was human. And he took the fight. He took the fight right to Chimaev. He didn't back down for 1 second in this fight. Boy, oh boy. Mark, let me throw it over to you first this time. What was your impressions of Chimaev still getting the decision win over Burns?
Yeah, first off, you said it. I can't think of what other insane fights we've seen in 2022 off the top of my head, but, God, that certainly felt like the fight of the year so far. I mean, these boys went out there and went to war. Yeah. As for the fight, Chimaev early looked how we're used to him looking. He went to his wrestling and gets Gilbert down, but Gilbert's able to create separation, and Chimaev chooses to let him back to the feet. And then from that point on, he more or less goes away from his wrestling and just decides to let it be a striking match, which I was surprised about, just because Chimaev is so comfortable on the ground that I didn't think he'd be so worried about mixing it up down there. And he even said in the post-fight interview, not the one in the cage, at the desk later, that he thinks he probably respected Gilbert's ground game too much, and that if he could do it again, he would have wrestled more. But, man, how scared are dudes of Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu? I've heard people say, like, yeah, I know he has great credentials, but he doesn't really sub anyone. He doesn't sub anyone because no one even considers playing on the mat with him. Like, Usman, Chimaev, both of them were like, absolutely not. You get back up here.
Yep.
Like, no one even tries. But back to the fight. They scrap it out all round one. Chimaev drops Gilbert late with a nasty jab, seals that round. We get to round two. Gilbert's dripping blood. And part of you is thinking, I wonder if Chimaev's going to take over here. Like, I wonder if we're going to get another takedown. He's going to pound him out, do the Chimaev thing. And instead, Gilbert Burns beats the shit out of Khamzat Chimaev in round two. He works him in round two. Like, yes, it was competitive in their exchanging, but Gilbert is landing a ton of big shots. He drops him at the end of the round to put an exclamation point on it, establishes that he is just a fucking dog. Yeah. And then Rogan at the end of that round has maybe the hilarious quote of the night where he goes, that round could easily go to Gilbert Burns. And Paul Felder is like, yeah, Joe, I think it did. So, Gilbert had that round in the bag before he even dropped Chimaev. He was whooping him.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a friggin' round. And then my favorite moment of the whole fight, at the start of round three, I shit you not, go back and watch it if you didn't notice this. Both guys, when the ref says fight, already have a foot on the monster logo in the center of the cage. They just both walked out, didn't even consider backing up, and the ref looks at them and he's like, this is fucking awesome, go ahead. And as soon as his hand goes down, they're an inch away from each other. It was incredible. And then, again, we get another insane round. Gilbert does everything he can to rally late after looking like fatigue was maybe hitting him earlier in the round, but it just wasn't enough. Chimaev had kind of built a nice lead. He had that huge barrage at one point that was like a 10-piece that really put him in the driver's seat, and he wins the fight 29-28. That's the right score. It's the fair score. He won the fight, and now we get a lot of people on Twitter and elsewhere saying like, oh, Khamzat Chimaev got exposed. I knew this would happen. You guys said he was going to be the champ. Ha, ha, ha. And I'm over here like, he just beat Gilbert Burns. What are you even saying? Like, he just beat the guy who was number 2 in the world.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great showing for Chimaev. He shows that he has a hell of a chin. Hell of a chin. Yeah. That his crazy aggression is not just in the early minutes, that it goes all 15. That he's willing to scrap. That he has the cardio. That he has power. And most importantly of all that he has heart. We knew his skills were there. Now we know the heart is there. The guy is tough as nails. So he comes out of this looking great to me. Like, yes, he's human. All right, we weren't sure if he was human. He is human. But he is a damn good human. So saying that he got exposed is an all-time bad take, considering he's now hit a point where it's like Usman, Colby, maybe Leon, who are ranked ahead of him, and that's all that's left. And the guy's still 27 years old and undefeated. So I think he's looking pretty good.
He's done what he had to do. He's now in the upper echelon of welterweight.
Yes.
After like, a combined
4 fights,
like 18 minutes of fighting in the UFC.
5. I get with Burns, right? It's 5.
Yeah.
Well, one of them was at middleweight though, so 4 welterweight fights.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah.
Okay, Omar, what was your reaction to this amazing welterweight battle?
So I have a couple of points that I think are important to make. The first one is everyone who has been giving Chimaev shit is absolutely dumb. Dana White doesn't say a lot of genuinely smart things that are not promotion like oriented, right? Like he's always trying to sell like a monkey a banana sometimes. But at the end of the day, there are some things here and there that he says that are just on point. And one of them was, if you didn't walk away from this fight knowing that Chimaev is the real deal, you, 1, don't fucking know fighting, and 2, just wasted 15 minutes of your life watching that fight.
Me and Omar are on the same page today.
Oh, yeah.
It's 100%. I mean, Chimaev really, the main thing that I took away, and Mark laid out, a few different things to take away from that fight from the Chimaev side. The thing that mattered to me the most was the adversity part. He was never going to run through the welterweight division, right? It was fun to think about, but the reality is, if you thought he was going to do that, it's because you didn't think he was human. It's because you didn't think he was human. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the case. To be fair, we all thought that at one point, right? Even Gilbert Burns, up until probably the beginning of that fight, was probably looking over at the other side like, I don't know if that guy is actually human or not. But once he got his hands on him and the boy started to bleed, he started to back up from his punches, he's starting to feel his shots, it starts to become more and more apparent that the man is just a man, and he is very beatable, and he is very, very good, but very beatable.
I was very beatable.
By the
He's
top
actually
guys,
he actually is unbeatable.
Well, he's by the top
unbeaten.
Guys.
Yes, I hear you. I'm getting
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
time.
I wouldn't say very beatable, yeah.
Well, I think it's especially somebody like Usman looking at that fight, right? Like Gilbert Burns is very technical, I think, on the ground. I think he's less technical on his feet. He's very strong. The man throws tons of hooks. But you see that he gets tagged and he gets dropped from jabs, mostly because of the way that he enters, and he doesn't necessarily defend the proper way. I'm not going to shit on the way that Gilbert fights, because Gilbert is a fantastic fighter, but
amazing.
But my point is that when you watch somebody who at this point has become even more technical on the feet, like Kamaru Usman, also with the credentials and the actual ability of his wrestling game, like Usman, when you see Chimaev lift up Li Jingliang like a baby and choke him out, you think to yourself, oh shit, this man's wrestling is like next level and all this stuff. And you see the videos of him training and like never getting tired and all this other stuff. But Gilbert Burns brought us all back down to reality and made us realize, listen, the man gets tired. You got to get him tired. The man gets hurt. You have to get him hurt. You've got to put in the work in those fights. And that's why he belongs in the top 5, because he's not going to go away easy for anybody, whether they're in the top 5 or not. Yeah. I'm excited to see this man go forward, but to say that he didn't, that you like lost something out of that fight, that Chimaev lost something and he's not, y'all are ridiculous. I think that's the stupidest take out of this entire weekend. The adversity part. I love seeing Chimaev have to push through, because the man looked just as frightening in those moments than he did in the first minute of the first round. And I think we can look forward to that consistently throughout his UFC career. That boy might never drop below the top 5, regardless of whether he becomes a champion or not. I'm excited for the Chimaev thing. I'm really expecting some interesting things from him. I don't know if he's going to beat Usman. I know Colby apparently is probably going to be next for him. You know me, I'm always down to see Colby get his ass whooped, and that is definitely a possibility with Chimaev's skill set. I'm excited, man. I thought it was a fantastic performance from both. I'm glad both of them got win bonuses and not just Chimaev. We all won from that fight. Every single person that watched that fight and appreciated it properly, everybody won. It was great.
My favorite moment from that fight was at the end of the second round, right after Chimaev got dropped. So at the break, Chimaev going back into his corner and the camera being there, and Chimaev's coach is like screaming at him and like I guess like Russian or something. It was such a real life Rocky moment of his coach being like, "What are you doing?" Of like probably the first time in his career of facing this kind of adversity. It was such a cool Rocky moment. I felt like he was Drago, like losing his composure, and his coach is like, you gotta break him. And man, what a fight! That's a fight that I'm going to rewatch 2 years from now and still get goosebumps.
And immediately after that was his biggest moment. To get dropped to close round 2 and come out and dominate the first 2 minutes of round 3 the way that he did said more about him than anything that happened in that fight.
Amen.
Supposedly, I think his corner was telling him, like, stop brawling. They were, like, yelling at him to stop brawling in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't listen.
No, he did not. No, he did not.
Okay, where do these two welterweights go from here? Let's start with the winner this time. Let's start with Khamzat Chimaev. He has catapulted himself into the top 5, top 3 of this division. Do we say title shot? Do we say Colby? What do we think? Mark, go first.
So obviously there is a ton of Colby buzz. It kind of already seems like that's where we are heading. I wish we would wait until after this Saturday night because assuming we're getting Usman and Edwards, which we've been assuming for a while here now, it's going to get announced eventually. Then this Saturday, if one of Luque or Bilal wins really impressively, it's hard to argue that it shouldn't be one of them against Chimaev fighting for the next title shot, as opposed to throwing Colby right back in that spot already. So I wish we would wait. At the same time, the fight I like more is Chimaev and Colby. It's a hell of a fight. It's very hard to pass on booking that. Would it be fair, possibly? Would it be unfair, possibly, to the winner of Luque and Muhammad? Yes. Do I think the UFC is going to care? No, because that fight is huge, and I think that's where they're going to go.
Omar, what do you think?
I want to see him against Colby. I think him against Colby is just such an interesting matchup. Skill for skill without Covington's bullshit. Covington's game is very interesting against Khamzat because he has to rely on his takedowns. He's not going to be able to outstrike him the way that he tends to strike. But if he's able to mix it up, go for the strikes, change levels, take him down, at least fake the takedown and then come back up. If he's able to mix it up the way that he does and work his cardio, it's very possible he comes out of there the winner. But Khamzat comes forward constantly and does not go backwards. His wrestling is not a joke either. There's also this, the suspicion that the Dagestani wrestling is just a lot more technical than the American wrestling and therefore just a bit more effective. And if that is the case, Colby might have a very, very hard time that night, either taking him down or not getting taken down himself. If it were me in Khamzat's position, if I believed in my wrestling as I would assume he does, because Colby's not going to throw up submissions like Gilbert Burns. I don't think you have the same things to worry about. Yeah. If you can take Colby down consistently, take Colby down consistently. Take Colby out of every moment of his game that he would need to win that fight.
Yep.
And you're smooth sailing. Because I don't think we've ever seen Colby on his back at all. I don't even know if he's got a takedown against him, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a tough matchup for Colby because I mean,
agree.
this is going to be Khamzat against almost every single welterweight. Is that he's really a middleweight who somehow miraculously makes welterweight. So Colby's going to be facing a guy who is going to have significant size and reach advantages over him, and skill for skill. Also, it's just like everything Colby does, Khamzat is going to be like, I'm right there with you in terms of striking. I would say Colby's probably a more technical striker. But Khamzat's going to be a real handful for Colby, man. Whoa.
If they make that fight, it's got to be 5. That needs to be a main event. I do not want to see 3 rounds of that fight. That has to be 5.
I disagree that Colby is a more technical striker than Khamzat. I think Khamzat is a more technical striker. I think Colby is probably a more effective striker, again, because of how his whole game as a whole works. his ability to mix it up, I think, is very, very necessary in order for his striking to really be as effective as it can be. The Usman fights, I think, are the ones that work to disprove that as a fact, because they didn't take each other down like at all, and they were kind of standing up. But Colby ended up getting worked in the first fight, and the second fight was a bit more competitive, but at the same time he still lost. And I still argue that he lost because he's not able to enforce his entire game. His striking goes hand in hand with his wrestling. You cannot separate them and have the best Colby in a fight. It's just not going to happen. So, stylistically, I think it's a terrible matchup for Colby, personally.
Yeah, I don't like it for Colby either. I think Chimaev is maybe more than a 2-1 favorite, betting odds-wise in that fight.
The other point I wanted to make, actually, was the next time we see Chimaev fight, that shit better not be 3 rounds.
I just said that.
Oh, okay.
I thought you meant that really in terms of for Colby's sake.
No, just for our sake, for the man. At the end of that third round against Gilbert Burns, I wanted 2 more rounds.
Yep.
Oh,
I 100% wanted 2 more rounds
with Colby, because Colby's the way you make that fight more interesting is to make it 5, because you give Colby the chance to tire him more.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
That fight's got to be 5.
And it's going to have to be a main event. At this point, both of their star powers are big enough that you could sell that at the very minimum on a fight night, if not co-headlining a pay-per-view or some nonsense.
Yeah,
of course.
The marketing will be interesting. You have the asshole against the guy who's best friends with a Chechnyan warlord. The media will eat that one up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he starts talking shit about Putin, this, that, and the third, too, or something like that. See if he's got the balls for that one.
He will call out those connections immediately.
Chimaev has connections to Putin?
No, to Kadyrov.
Oh, really?
Dude, yeah, like
No idea.
super tight connections. Yeah,
Jesus.
you haven't. There's been a lot of articles on it and stuff. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
What else is interesting is that Chimaev, with this stardom and with this big win over the number 2 guy in the world, he is leapfrogging pretty much the entire top 10 of welterweight. So there are other matchups within the top 10 that I think might be even more difficult matchups for him than, say, a Burns or a Covington or even a Usman. I mean, I think Neil Magny, in terms of attributes, could, I guess, stand his ground against Chimaev more, because Neil Magny is the only other guy who stands eye to eye with him. Huh?
More than Usman?
Maybe not more than Usman, but I'm saying he's skipping Magny. He's skipping Chiesa. He's skipping Sean Brady, who's also undefeated. He's skipping Leon. Yeah. He's skipping Luque.
Yeah.
He's skipping all these guys.
He's skipping a lot of guys. That's what happens when you freaking get a fight with the number 2 guy and you win it.
I mean, to be honest, I wish some of this stuff would happen more, because we see guys sometimes beat guys that are above them that don't fucking move at all in the rankings. And there's still guys that are above them that have no business at this point being above them. Like, you beat the number 2 guy, you should be the number 2 guy. That, to me, just makes logical sense.
I actually like how the UFC did it in moving Leon up and keeping Leon above him. I think Leon should still be above Chimaev right now. So Chimaev is 3.
Especially because Leon at this point is fighting for the title more than likely. Yes. Like, he should. Yes, I'm okay with small little things like that, but like, for example, he shouldn't be like number 6 all of a sudden, and then Gilbert Burns is like number 4. Yes. You know what I mean? Which happens all too often in the UFC.
I know.
Yeah. All right, Burns. Omar, put on your matchmaker hat. What would you do with Gilbert Burns from here?
I don't want Gilbert Burns to necessarily go down too far. Right now in the UFC's rankings, and we'll find out on the Prio ranking shortly where he's at. But right now they have Gilbert Burns at number 4, so he dropped 2 spots down.
Yeah, he's 4 on mine too. I'll tell you now, because he didn't even barely moved.
Okay, so there's a couple of good fights I feel like that are at right around his area, especially if you're getting the Luque Bilal Muhammad fight soon. So if you're able to get that fight done, the winner of that fight against Gilbert Burns would probably be a banger, because either one of those guys would be very interesting. Bilal Muhammad,
he's not going to fight Luque. You got to remember that.
Are they boys?
They're like best friends. They corner each other, everything.
Are they best friends like he was best friends with Usman?
I think it's more than that. They're in each other's corner every fight.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, this
That
was my same
sucks.
answer. If it's Bilal, you can go that way. If it's Luke, I don't know who the hell you give Gilbert Burns.
You got to wonder how long that's going to last. Like, because if it's for a title, I doubt one of them is going to be like, nah, I'm good. But
I almost think that the answer is you just give him Bilal no matter what. Like, if
just
Bilal
give him Bilal
wins,
win or lose.
you're like, listen, Bilal, I know you thought you were going to fight someone maybe a little higher, but we're booking Chimaev Colby. Deal with it, and you have to fight Gilbert Burns because that's the next guy. Whereas if Bilal loses, then you're going to have to be like, listen, Luke, I know you want to fight, but we don't really have someone to give you. You're going to have to wait, and you book Burns and Bilal. Like, I feel like you can just book it either way.
Yeah, I mean, because the reality is, apart from that, it starts to get really weird, and we start to look at the bottom of the top 10 again.
Yeah,
To give to Burns, which I don't really know if I want to do that.
agree.
Just a name off the top of my head, Sean Brady would be very interesting to see him against Burns, but like I don't want to keep throwing people at him that haven't really climbed up the rankings properly.
Yeah.
As interesting as that fight would be. So yes, I will stick with Bilal Muhammad, win or lose. I did not know Luque and him were that tight. So yeah. Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, I just gave you the answer. Same answer.
Same as me, guys. Oh, man, all three. Sean Brady. Whoa.
Sean Brady.
No, not Sean Brady.
Oh, that's
Bilal
my
Muhammad.
Oh, my
Yeah.
pick is Brady.
Oh,
I thought you said Brady. My bad.
no.
No, I said I don't want to give him Brady because it's fucked up to keep giving him guys that are that low in the rankings.
Yeah. It would be a cool fight, though. Don't get me wrong. It'd be really cool.
Yes.
It would be
Sean,
the second.
Sean Brady, I'm not sure Sean Brady knows a way to go all 15 minutes just striking. So it's almost like a guarantee we would get to see those two men grapple, and I would have my popcorn ready.
I guess if you want to give Sean Brady somebody, not that I don't know why we're talking about Sean Brady so hard all of a sudden, but if you want to give Sean Brady somebody, give him Luque if you're going to give Bilal to
You could.
Burns, because that's a good
Luque-
fight, Luque and Brady.
But Luke is fighting.
You could.
I'm saying after that, because Luque
yeah,
and
sure.
Bilal are fighting, so after they're done,
I see.
know.
Yeah,
They're
that's the
fighting right now,
finals.
1 week after Burns, yeah.
I like that matchup for Burns because, like we alluded to earlier, nobody wants to grapple with Gilbert Burns. But Sean Brady is like one of the other guys in the division who all he wants to do is grapple.
Yeah.
So it would
Bilal
be
would have to try, too, I would think, if they ever made that fight.
especially now that he's this like monster wrestler all of a sudden. Like, how are you just going to not wrestle?
But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry. Keep going.
No, it's all good. Let's move on, unless you guys have anything else really pressing that you are dying to say about Gilbert Burns and or Khamzat Chimaev. Okay,
Still
cool.
think we got robbed of a 5-round fight.
Yeah, that could have been a 5-round.
Would have been awesome. My God. It would have been
Oh, my
awesome.
God. Okay, and another great fight. Nice fight. Very competitive fight. Mackenzie Dern defeats Tisha Torres by split decision.